Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we are taking a look at the Microtech Ultratech ZBP, or Zero Blade Play. And that's with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or your daily carry rotation. Now, this knife was sent in by Adept Knives. I reached out to Adept Knives for a collaboration because they have a deal on their website that is, if you use the code WELCOME, you get 20% off your order. And they've got companies like ZT, Spyderco, Kershaw, Boker, Vosteed, even some Wee and Civivi knives. So if 20% off sounds good to you, then just use the code WELCOME, WELCOME, in the on the checkout screen, and then you get 20% off your order. That's actually insane, guys. That is nuts. I've been collecting for a couple years now, and I'm sure you guys, have been collecting, some of you longer than me, way longer than me. 20% off your order doesn't come up too often, right? So it was important for me to get this out to you guys. And Adept sent me this knife not to keep, but to, kind of do a little overview and show off to you guys. So this knife was designed by Anthony Marfione, and it was OEM'd in the USA by Microtech. And jumping into the handle, it's an OTF handle, so we don't have a ton going on here. We have this really nice low-key logo. I think that's very tastefully done. It's blacked out. It doesn't jump out at you immediately, but if you want to see it, you can see it. We've got stonewashed hardware all throughout, including on the deep carry milled titanium pocket clip. It's equipped with the Begg ball, and that's the ball invented by Todd Begg from Begg Knives. It just makes it super easy in and out of the pocket. It doesn't actually spin or roll, but it's got, because it's a ball, it's got minimal contact, but it's actually got really good retention. We do have a spot for lanyards, and we do have a glass breaker. So if this were my knife, I'd probably try to remove the glass breaker. I don't know if you can, but I would probably try to. We do have this milling, which helps a ton with grip, just as opposed to just the smooth aluminum. Up here by the button, if you look inside, we've got what's called crud cutters. And that's actually, those little divots in there are meant to capture debris and not allow it to actually go into the OTF, right? So, you still have to clean your OTF, but it should be much less hassle and much easier with the crud cutters. And then this button, which to me initially looked like it was going to be incredibly uncomfortable, is actually fantastic. I don't think I've ever deployed an OTF with a more comfortable, overall experience. It's got this step milling all the way up. It creates a bit of a V shape. That way, it kind of captures your finger whenever you go to deploy the knife. And up and down, it just makes it super, super easy to handle. So let's go ahead and bust the blade out. So we have this really nice stone-washed M390 MK. M390 in general has excellent corrosion resistance, and it's got medium edge retention. The cool thing about this being a dagger, though, is that you've got two blades. All right, you've got two sharpened sides, which means if one side dulls, you can just hop right over to the other side and use it. Right, so it's almost like, double the life. We do have these speed holes, and just underneath them, it says Ultratech. I think the branding on this knife, considering it's Microtech, is very tastefully done. Everything seems understated and simple, but you still know what the knife is and where you got it from. Beyond that, the only thing we have is right here, we've got it where it says the M390 MK. Now, I don't know what the benefit of the M390 MK is. I don't know what it adds to the recipe of M390 that gives it a different name. So if somebody wants to share in the comments, that would be fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the action. So with OTFs, it's not necessarily like fidgeting a folder, right? You pretty much just have your up, down, and that's about it. So some people might find that fidgety. I personally don't. But what I can say is because of the way they have this button textured, it takes almost no effort. Like I don't want to say that. It takes intent to open, but as far as opening and closing, like a child couldn't do it. But for an adult, it's a very nice, easy, controlled deployment. So like if you're, like the Max Ace Neptune, that fantastic knife, fantastic OTF. I love that thing to death for the price. It was amazing. But the button was really hard to actuate, and it was kind of fatiguing. I feel like I could do this all day long and get no fatigue whatsoever. Very comfortable, very easy. Huge fan of this slider, and the action. It's got a nice sound on the way down, and a nice sound on the way out. You do get some feedback whenever the knife disengages and it deploys. You get a little bit of vibration. I don't want to say vibration, but you can feel it through the handle, right? Which gives it a little extra, not fidgetability, but it gives it a more tactile feel. Now the ZBP part, the zero blade play, is referencing to every OTF has some wiggle or some wobble, right? Because the blade needs enough room free to be able to shoot up and shoot back down. So there's always just a tiny bit of wiggle. I can say beyond the shadow of a doubt, I can't budge this thing at all. There's no sound, there's no click, there's no nothing. This is completely and totally locked in. There's like no spare room. I mean, there's a little bit on the sides, but like whatever system is holding it together on the inside is locked in. This thing genuinely has no wiggle, no movement whatsoever. And I believe, and I'm not the most familiar with this, but I believe there's a way that you can, if it ever does come, if it ever does get wiggle room, there's a way that you can adjust the tolerances to kind of re-tighten it down, to kind of lock it back in. That way it's future-proof. I'm not entirely sure if you have to take off the scale or something, or if you have to get inside of it. I imagine so, since there doesn't seem to be anything on the outside. But I've taken apart OTFs. It's a little intimidating your first time, but it's not nearly as crazy as some people make it out to be. So just covering some specs. The overall length is 8.54 inches. The blade length is 3.55 inches. And the blade to handle ratio is 0.71, which for an OTF is really nice. And then we're coming in about 3.61 ounces. I will do some size comparisons. So there we are up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen, third best Civivi ever made next to the Visions. And we are going up against the real steel Sylph. We're ignoring the glass breakers because they're not functional length. So we're coming in bigger than both the Brazen and the Sylph. And then the budget knife of the year so far, the Migron Gotov, and we are coming in head and shoulders above the Gotov. Sorry for the shake. All right, so what's the price on this bad boy? Well, depending on the configuration you get, you can be looking anywhere from $375 to $415. Now, with that code welcome, let's say this was $400, we'll just cut it down the middle, then you're paying $320. If it's, if you find one that's $375, then you're gonna pay like right at $300. Pretty close to, and give or take a few bucks. So this knife might not be for you, but I'm sure something on their site is for you, and you might as well take advantage of it while the sale is going. Use the code WELCOME, get 20% off your order, and like I said, they've got Spyderco, ZT, Kershaw, Microtech, Vosteed, and they even have Kaiser. I'm not sure if they have all the latest and greatest Kaisers, but they have Kaiser on here, so it's definitely worth checking out. As far as this knife goes, is it worth the money? That's going to be a little subjective. Well, they're all subjective, but as far as OTFs go, the closest thing, or the only thing that we've had so far with zero blade play, was the I forgot the name of it, but it was the Hawk Deadlock, I think is what it's called. And that knife can range from like $1,800 to $2,400. So the fact that we can get something that is similar with zero blade play for a fraction of the price. Keep in mind the Hawk Deadlock is a custom, right? Big time. That's a very small batch, American-made custom knife. So that one should be substantially more expensive. This one here, also USA made, is a production model. So it should be substantially less expensive, right? So they're fine at their respective price points. But for anybody that couldn't afford a Deadlock, well, you can get this. And I think at, around $400, I think that's a great price, because it's essentially taking the, features of a much more expensive knife and bringing it down to the production level where it's much more attainable by everyday people like me, probably like you. So yes, I do think it's a good value. For me, this would be an everyday user. I wouldn't put it through incredibly tough tasks, but if you wanted like the most badass letter opener, / package opener, while this won't be the most functional blade, you still get two blades, right? So there's some function there. And it's going to handle all those normal daily tasks. Like you could totally just EDC this, right? It really is a great knife, a great feeling knife. I'm a huge fan. This is my first time ever handling Microtech Ultratech, and my first time handling anything with zero blade play. And I could say I'm probably going to see if they have a smaller version of this, because I would really like one that's like UTX 80 size. I'm going to scroll around and see if I can't find one, and then, beg my mom to get it for an early birthday present or something. I don't know. But, yeah. So, let me ask you guys, is this something you would daily carry? Is this something that would end up in a collection? Something that you would just kind of put on the shelf and leave it there and only pull out for interesting conversation? Let me know down in the comments. If you found the video helpful or entertaining, hit the like button. Please don't forget to subscribe. And until the next time, guys, peace.